Hello, my name is Kate Clarke and I'm an educational psychologist in Lambeth. I've made this video today to talk a little bit about the importance of routine and sleep for maintaining well-being and general health in children and young people, particularly during the coronavirus outbreak and lockdown, when the kind of normal routine and structure for many children and young people will be looking quite different. So why are daily routines important? Well, I think maintaining a sense of routine is particularly important at the moment because the coronavirus outbreak has meant that very suddenly our worlds and our normal routines have really been turned upside down. And for many, this can lead to feelings of anxiety or worry or stress. And one thing we know is that when we're feeling stressed or anxious, it can really help to maintain a sense of structure and routine and rhythm to the day, as that can help to give us a sense of security and stability and help us to feel a sense of control, perhaps when things are feeling a little bit out of control. Having a familiar routine and structure to the day can help children to know what to expect and to predict what's going to happen, and that can also help to reduce feelings of anxiety or worry. Having routines and structure is really important for maintaining a healthy body clock or what we call our circadian rhythm, and that's really our body's natural way of telling us when we're feeling sleepy or hungry or alert. And when that becomes out of sync, or disrupted, it can have implications for sleep and for general well-being. And having a kind of daily routine and structure can also be really helpful for developing independence in children and young people and healthy habits. If children and young people are familiar with the daily routine, then they're much less likely to be asking parents, what's going to happen next? What are we doing today? What's happening this afternoon? So there are some basic and fundamental routines that we need to keep consistent in order to maintain healthy well-being. So having regular meals at regular times, having regular sleep and bedtime and wake-up times, and regular exercise and time outdoors. Maintaining all of these will help your child and their internal body clocks to stay in sync. When our body clocks fall out of sync, that is when we can start to experience difficulties with sleep and falling asleep. And children really need to have well-regulated body clocks and healthy sleep patterns in order to be able to learn and to be in the right place for learning. If they're tired or drowsy, or make it much harder for them to learn and can impact on their general kind of well-being as well. So with that in mind, we've got some top tips for sleep here. So number one, setting up a regular kind of bedtime routine that will help your child to get in the mindset and get ready for bed. And trying to start this at the same time every day, it can be really useful. So for younger children, that might be a bath story in bed. For older children, it might be a chat with you about the day and just some quiet time relaxing in their bedroom before lights out. It's really important to try and encourage children to relax and wind down before bedtime. So for older children, they might like to wind down by reading a book or listening to some gentle music or perhaps doing some breathing exercises. For younger children, winding down by listening to a story can be really useful too. It's really important to try and keep bedtime and wake-up times within 1 to 2 hours of each other every day, and this will help to maintain regular kind of sleep patterns. And it's a good idea to try and maintain this on the weekends and during holidays too. Check levels of noise and light in your child's bedroom. A quiet, cool, dimly lit space is important for good sleep. So check whether your child's bedroom is too light or noisy. And it's really important as well to think a little bit about the blue light that comes from televisions or computer screens and phones and tablets, as this blue light can trick our brains and our bodies into thinking it's daytime and can suppress the sleep hormone melatonin, which is really important for making us feel sleepy. So it's probably a good idea to turn off devices at least 1 hour before bedtime, and to try and keep them out of your child's bedroom at night time. It's important that your child eats the right amount of food at the right time, so making sure that they have a satisfying meal at a reasonable time. If they're feeling too hungry or too full at night time, that's going to affect their sleep. Making sure your child gets natural light and exercise during the day. That's really important. If your child is a child who struggles to wake up in the morning, getting them outside in natural light will really help. Natural light suppresses the sleepy hormone melatonin, so it could help us to feel more awake, which is equally why it's so important to dim the lights at night time. And lastly, try and avoid caffeine in the afternoons or after 12 o'clock, as caffeine is a stimulant and can help us to feel very awake, which means it can interrupt our sleep and sleep patterns. And caffeine can be found in things like energy drinks, Coca-Cola, coffee, tea, and chocolate. So trying to limit those in the afternoon as much as possible will be really helpful for sleep. Okay, well, what to do if your child is very worried at bedtime? And this might be particularly pertinent at the moment because there is a lot of anxiety and worry going around. So the first thing really is to listen to your child's worries and fears, and to make the time to listen to them. Try and empathize and acknowledge their feelings. Try not to ignore their fears or worries, or to make fun of them, even if they seem a little bit silly to you. To your child, they probably feel very, very real. And it can be really helpful to try and normalize some of these feelings for children. So, letting them know that we all feel anxious or scared or worried sometimes, and that those feelings are normal. Trying to avoid scary TV programs or films, video games, and the news during the daytime, but especially before bed. It can really help some children to do a breathing exercise before bed. And a really simple one is just breathing in for the count of 5 and breathing out for the count of 5, and doing that for 2 to 3 minutes. Breathing exercises can be really effective for managing feelings of stress or worry or anxiety, as they help to regulate and slow down our heart rate and help tell our bodies that we're calm and relaxed. It can be helpful for some children if they write down or draw their worries and put them in a box or a container, so that they're kind of kept somewhere safe and separate for the night. Or alternatively, maybe they could tell their worries to a doll or a teddy bear who could look after them for the night. It's important to try and make sure your child's bedroom is safe and cozy and feels safe to them. For some children, a nightlight can help them to feel safe, particularly if they're afraid of the dark, or having a security object like a security blanket or a special teddy bear. And teaching children skills to get over their fears can be really helpful as well. So perhaps, teaching your child that if they have a nightmare, then they can feel better about that by perhaps thinking of positive thoughts such as "I am safe" or "monsters are just pretend." And at the end of this presentation, I've put some resources, the names of some books that are really helpful for helping children to learn how to manage their worries. And those might be something that you might be interested in looking at too. Okay, so finally, top tips for setting up routine. So just to recap on what we've already been talking about, it's important to focus on the fundamentals first. So making sure that regular sleep, regular meals, and regular exercise is all in place. Those are the first things that you need to think about when you're setting up a routine. And establishing a good sleep routine is really important. Then it can be helpful to think about building structure into each day, and a visual schedule can really help with this. And if you want more information on setting up visual schedules, then there is a separate webinar that I've made that you can look at too. Creating blocks of time during the day for certain types of activities can be really helpful. So perhaps, from 10 to 11, that might be academic time, and that might be when your child is doing their schoolwork or some reading, writing, or maths. Perhaps from 3 to 4 p.m., for example, that might be creative time. And within that time, that might be when your child's doing some arts and crafts or some drawing or some painting. And perhaps, between 5 and 6 p.m., that might be quiet time. That might be when your child is quietly reading a book by themselves or playing in their bedroom. And tech time, for example, that might be, I don't know, between 2 and 3 p.m. And that might be the set time when your child can go on their iPad or tablet or play their computer games. It's important to try to include a variety of activities within those different blocks of time. So even though the academic time, for example, might be fairly consistent, what your child actually does within that time might vary. And variety is important because we all need a little bit of variety in our lives, otherwise things become quite boring and not so motivating or interesting. It's important to build in a balance of work and play into the daily routine and to make sure that breaks are built into it too. And perhaps, on the weekends, things can be a bit looser or a bit more relaxed, and that helps to mirror, the normal kind of working week and weekend. So we have come to the end of the presentation now. I've put here some resources. I guess they're more appropriate for younger children, kind of primary age children. And these are some books specifically about managing worry or anxiety that parents might find helpful to read through and think about with with your child. You might find it useful. I hope that this video and presentation has been useful. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Okay, thanks.